Good morning, Nevis. My name is Eldaria Jones, and as you see that I am here at the hot springs, and I have been asked to share my experience and my knowledge of the hot springs and the Bath Hotel. I believe that I am placed to do so because my history goes back to both Government Road and Bath Village. Now, my first memory of the Bath Hotel is simple. My parents was born in Bath Village, they married in Bath Village, and they grew up, raised in Bath Village. So I may not be the right person for living memory, but what I can say is that I have sat around my grandparents and parents, and I'm hearing all the different things about their childhood and so forth. In relation to my grandfather, he was a police in town, and my grandmother had worked at the Bath Hotel. Now there's three concepts here. First, you have the Bath Hotel, you have the Bath House, which is the Bath Spa, and then you also have the Bath Stream. So we must try not to get them all mixed up. The Bath Hotel is not the Bath Stream, and neither is the Bath Stream the Bath House. So I want to just make sure that there's an A, B, and C segment of this entire complex. Now, the Bath Hotel was built in 1778 by John Hoggins. At that time, the Bath House was not built. The Bath Hotel, the Bath House was built a few years after the Bath Hotel to complement the activities that goes on at the hotel. Like some people after bathing, they're coming from Europe. As you know, that Europe is a very cold country, and therefore you find some people were wanting a bit of warmth, and they will come there to go to the Bath House. So it's a twin kind of situation. You sleep and then you go to spa. Now the hotel was owned by different people. At one time it was owned by John Hoggins, sold on to different persons. I wouldn't go into that right now. And what I can say to you is that my grandmother, Evelyn Jones, she was the washer at the hotel in the late stages, just when about the hotel was about to change hands. She was a washer. She was the person to make sure that the clothing was well done. Nowadays, I think you would call it the quality controller, but that wasn't the posh word in those days. And she was there to make sure that the washers actually supervised the washing, that the clothes were clean and so forth. Later on down, my grandmother, Laura Mills Walring, she worked as a cashier in the Bath House. So one worked in the hotel and one worked in the Bath House. Now, what I can say is I also have the other segment with my auntie, Gertrude Jones, my father's sister. Most Bath villagers would know that she also had a shop on the roundabout, just there by Clark's, the Peach House at Clark's. She had a little shop there selling bread, drinks, sugar, cake, fried fish, and so forth, just before you meet the bridge to go down to Gallotsburg. So it was right there opposite Jean Clark's residence right now. And when the fisherman would come up from the Bath, my grandmother, who was a baker, she would then cut the flour bag into 6 pieces and give each and every one a piece of flour bag cloth with a piece of blue soap, and send them to wash off their smelly fishery smell to bathe down in the back of the gut where they can have a bath. And today I see myself not cutting the cloth, but I do have some lovely towels here that I supply to people for only $1 to go down and have a good wash and a wipe up or clean up. So that's the concept of the three. The spring was used for bathing. The bathroom house was affiliated directly with the hotel at the time. Now, the bath stream where I am now based was a very narrow kind of gut. It was originally like a little gut where the water flows through, coming down when there is rain from the hills and so forth, but the water was quite warm. The water was springing up from the earth, but whenever there's a rainfall, it messes up the whole thing. And therefore, you find that the bad villagers would get together and they would then do their own self-cleaning in the area that they're bathing. And that was one of the main purposes why you see it is now cleaned professionally today, because they had something like persons doing voluntary cleaning. And voluntary cleaning went up to the time when I started opening here. I was the last voluntary cleaner, myself and Mr. Melvin Dorr. We were the last voluntary cleaners that started to clean the hot springs. And so after we bought pump, power wash and so forth, and hand over to guys like Callie and others who were there as voluntary cleaners, we started the voluntary cleaning, and we had fun, and everybody would put their hands together. But then later on in 2014, Mr. Williams, who was the permanent secretary of Ministry of Tourism, find it necessary to take over from the voluntary cleaners, and then the government started to clean the stream in a more orderly manner, rather than to just rely on voluntary cleaners once a week. After the cleaning started rigidly, you find that persons started to use the spring more often than they would normally do. Tourists started coming in because it was much cleaner, and this is where we are today. And as you can see, the stream is now cleaned almost every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And that's about the bath stream at the moment. The second segment of the bath stream is that the use of it and what it does for people. The bath stream, the water from the bath stream has different medicinal properties in it. So you find that there are electrolytes in the water. It is said to have over 70 different types of minerals. It is loaded down with medicinal properties. It is said it doesn't have any bacteria. It is actually written that there is no bacteria. It is also written that electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and so forth does help with the healing process of persons who use it. So it is good to heal you from sciatica, lumbago, muscle tension, muscle spasm, aches and pains, and so forth. However, it is proven that if you were to stay longer than a certain amount of time, which they've limited to 15 minutes, the chances are that you will tend to feel a bit dizzy. I share my history of what I know about the hot springs and so forth. The shop that I've erected here, it complements the activities that goes on at the hot springs, but I will get to that in a minute. But I also want to say about the hot springs, the water flows into the hot springs, rainwater flows into the hot springs, the actual spring water comes up from the earth, and it actually treads all the way down to Gallows Bay. So you would find that at the end of Gallows, at the end of the pond where the water falls through and enter into the seawater, that area of the seawater is quite warm as well. So maybe if the seawater were to be tested, you'll find that the heat goes all the way into it. Now, in terms of the what inspired me to be here talking to you guys today is two things. One, the entrepreneurship from my grandparents, who would have saved a lot of lives with their shop for people that have used the hot springs and may have felt dizzy. The shop was right there to save them by giving them their little sugar pumping drinks and so forth. My grandmother would make ginger beer, which was one of the orders of the day. My grandmother would therefore make morbi. I don't do morbi right now, but she would normally do morbi, serve tea and bush tea and hot bread and butter. So when you come out and you feel dizzy, she's right there by the bath entrance to give you those things, to perk you up so that you could be revived. And this is why I'm here today. I am sort of doing the same thing, carrying on, if you like, a family tradition. And I am here at the bathroom, almost just about a few yards away from where they had set up, doing almost the same thing. So I want to give credits to my grandparents and not all the credits to me. Now the bath stream has about 6 pools, 6 different basins. You have the basins in the stream are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some of the basins go all the way at the back side of the restaurant there, what is called Black Hat restaurant, and some pools go all the way down until you reach the ocean. But by the time you reach the part where Verita Butler had lived, if anybody teacher Rita Butler, you will find that there is a little bit of a depth down there, because there is what you call a sub pond, that if you were to go in there, you start find your feet going on. It's a kind of a sandy, soft sand that make your feet go all the way down to the ground. And down there has to be careful because you have manganese and those things. So if you were to go down to that end of Gallows, at the pond where Gallows may meet with it, you could end up with being bitten or stung or whatever you call it by manganese, and you will have to itch for days upon days in order to get better, or go to the doctor or hospital to get some treatment for the manganese. Okay, so even though the hot springs is here, you have to be careful how you use it. Don't stay too long in it. Don't go down to the thing and think you could walk in the water and think you might be sucked in and can't get your feet out. And these are different things. You have to be careful. Now, I've given you my memorable experience, like with my parents, with the shop and everything. So the using side of it is people would come here as children and would bathe naked because children are small. The parents would bathe them and then bathe the kids on top of their lap, get them ready to go to school and so forth. And I have lived that side of it. I would come here from wherever I may be, whether at Government Road or whether I am at Bath Village, and bathe with other kids and my cousins Gina, Josephine and Noel, and other persons in my household would come here to wash clothes at the very end by the stream where the bridge of Bath Village meet with the roundabout. A lot of washing was done there, and we find that persons who have used this bath stream seem to come out with some longevity in their lifetime. Persons were not dying so young. Persons were living in the late 80s and 90s, 100. I think we could prove that Bath Village is a renowned city with a lot of academias in it. We've had the first Attorney General, the first bankers, matrons, nurses. Nearly every profession came out of Bath Village, more than the other villages around the Charlestown area. I cannot speak for Gingerland. I guess a Gingerlandian and those Bricklin people will have to speak about them. But so far for the entire Charlestown area, from at least Jessup's to wade over to Bath Village. Bath Village was the sway in those times. There was a time when we had no water running in the pipes, and everybody would depend on the Bath stream for washing their clothes and for having a good bath and a good night's sleep with the medicinal properties that is in the water. I can see now where the restoration of the hot springs and the Bath Hotel could enhance the community, and not only just the Bath Village community, not only just the Bath Village community, but Nevis in its totality. I find that if people were to know the rich history of Bath Village, which I'm writing a book on right now, and you will probably hope that you will be able to buy it, you'll find that not only have Bath Village had a lot of academias in it, we also had tradespeople, shoemakers, boat builders, fishermen. All of these are the persons that made a village a real village, a community spirited village, musicians and so forth. Now, I would like to think that, with the exception of persons living long, I would like to say that Bath Village should go down in history, in my view, as a renowned village. And there is more and more. I would stay here all day talking about the stream. Finally, the stream was captured at one time. This is not a government-owned stream at the time. The stream was owned in private hands, and one of the last main owners was a man called Mr. Barber. And Mr. Barber did not like to see the villagers doing their washing and having community spirit and having their fun. And Mr. Barber, being a white man, he was from Jersey, New Jersey. He was an Englishman who lived in New Jersey. And he was the last main colonial owner of the hot springs. And he would then come down with his big dogs, and the dogs were like massive. They were tall. I think they were greyhound dogs, I've heard. And he would come down and let go the dogs. He would barricade the place up, wire it up to make sure that we as Nevisians or Bath villagers did not use the stream. And when it was reported to Mr. Bratcher, who was in the movement of labor, trying to get us some rights in this land, Mr. Bratcher, Llewellyn Bratcher, who was the first premier of Thinkers of Nevis after colonial times, he came over to Nevis with a team of persons, and it's documented because I interviewed Mr. Richard Keynes, and he confirmed a very long interview with me, which I have noted. And they came over on the boat called the Kenyu. The Kenyu boat brought them here because it was reported to them that there was hurricane, there was an earthquake here at the Bath Stream, where the vein that comes through the earth from the volcano that brings in the heat was blocked off by Mr. Barber, who thinks that he had owned the place and nobody else should use it. Well, Mr. Bratcher was sued by Mr. Barber for trespass into property. Now, as you know, if you know anything in law, and as a retired legal person myself, you find in the law it says if you have anything like precious stones and gold, frankincense, whatever you have which is on the earth, it belongs to the crown, so it wouldn't belong to Mr. Barber. However, moving away from that, Mr. Bratcher came over, he was sued for trespass by Mr. Barber, and whatever judge it was gave Mr. Barber the case, and Mr. Bratcher was charged something like 8 shillings, I am told, for that particular case. But he appealed, and a Trinidadian judge, I am told again, came down and gave the case to Bratchard. I want to believe what I have searched. It was one of the first, if not the first, case of trespass on the books. And so therefore here we have that as a little history that you guys could note or do further research on. So yes, Mr. Bratchard came with his team along with some Bad Village guys from the fishermen from Bad Village, and they went and they behaved very, very hostile to Barbara, stoning him and so forth, to get us to use the stream, because everybody was scared to use the stream because of Barbara and his malicious, big, huge, attacking dogs. So the stream wasn't used for a little while because we were all scared, I'm told by my parents. That happened when maybe my mother was pregnant with me and so forth. And so all of this was done for us to get to where we are today. And we want to thank all those persons in Bad Village who have been instrumental in getting this place back into our hands. And then finally it went from white man ownership to local ownership, and then from there now we would like to thank the Premier, Mr. Mark Brantley, in 2022 to have gained this case again into the hands of Nevisions. And so Nevisions, I want to say to you, this is a treasure spot of Nevis, and I would like to see us accept changes, because there are going to be some serious changes in renovating this place, and we would like you to accept the changes. There is an old saying which says that you can't do anything to change, but just accept the changes being done. We are doing, the Ministry of Tourism, I believe, which I'm told is trying to do some works here, and the people will be informed from time to time through the government ministries. So that is where I would like to stop. There is a lot more depth to it, but this is a program, and I would not want to stay longer than where I am today. So on that note, I would say ta-da.